So I came across this cool documentary style motion graphics edit, and I thought to myself, why not I give it a try on my phone using the Note Video app. At first it looks easy until this finally hit me. And I was like, well, why not I recreate my own terrible version instead? And here's what I got. So here's how I started. First, I added the background image that looks in form of a temple. I then switched the transform to 3D. This way I could have access to the 3D camera. So I'm going to stretch and adjust the size of the background. And next, I added the tree branch and then transform the layer to 3D. So I'll be using this little monitor over here as a guide to see the camera view. And then I'll navigate to 3D settings and adjust the camera position and the field of view to get a close-up shot of the tree. And then we adjust the size and position of the rest of the layers to get them aligned with the camera shot. And once I'm satisfied with the shot size, I keyframe the camera position to pan to the end of the background layer. And then next, I added the status of the warrior. I follow the same process as earlier. I adjust the position and size to properly place it inside the scene. This way the camera pans across it. So I'm going to be repeating this same process to the rest of the objects I'll be adding to the scene. And for now, it's as easy as transforming the object to 3D, then properly align and position the object into the scene. So at first, you might want to struggle to achieve a more stable shot, and one of the ways I handled that was to go back and forth to adjust the layers and the 3D camera to sync with the scene. And with that, I was able to get the result I wanted. So next, I decided to play with the material settings to give the camera a more cinematic lighting to create depth on the surface of the 3D object. By selecting the Matcap as a texture, I can choose how the light interacts with the image, which I find this result way much better compared to the previous look. So to make the rest of the layers stand out, I'm also going to repeat the same process and change the Matcap to what I feel works best for me. And likewise, you have the flexibility to adjust the light direction and the reflection intensity to match the scene lighting. So now that you know how I achieve this, I'm also going to quickly do this to the rest of the layers and fast forward to what is important. So next, I try to distort the atmosphere, and basically that's by creating a fake haze using the gradient layer. I transform the layer to 3D to make it more visible. I then increase the size of the gradient layer to fill the entire scene. This way I could have the noise sit on top of the entire layer. To sell the illusion even better, I change the color to match the scene lighting. And also have it in mind that the layer is now 3D, so we can't just blend the layer using the blend mode. Instead, we're going to use a different approach, and that's by reducing the main color alpha value that affects the visibility of the solid color. And with that, here's a before and after. And next, we are going to add the grain effect to add a bit of noise and texture to the solid layer. So normally my next step would have been to add some depth of field to enhance the look of the scene, but unfortunately Note Video depth of field doesn't really work that well. So instead I'm going to use the Gaussian Blur to the background to sell the illusion. Then I return to the depth of field and keyframe the focal length to create that cinematic reveal. Next, I'm going to add the S-curve to both keyframe to ease in the animation. I then return to the camera position and add additional keyframes with the S-curve between the keyframes. And with these, I was able to temporarily stop the camera movement to show the display text. So quickly, I'm going to repeat the same steps to the rest of the areas where I'll be adding the text, and that's basically around the object area. So to create that animated line, I added a classic shape and selected the pen tool to draw out the path. I changed the fill type to stroke and then transformed the layer to 3D. And now I'm going to adjust the size and stretch it to the end of the background layer. And given Note Video's current limitation, I think the hard part for me was most likely placing the line behind the object. So to get away with that, I went back and forth and adjust both layers to place the line behind the object. And with that, this is the part where I change the color to red. The start and end option allows you to move the edge of the path from one point to the other. So I'm going to add keyframe to the end option to create the path animation. And once I'm satisfied with the look, I added the mask to the background image. I set the mask vertically to create a sort of margin separation. I blur out the mask edges a bit, and lastly I keyframe the mask position to create a simple split animation. So next I'm just going to stretch and adjust the length of the layer to buy myself more time. I then switch to the curve and repeat the same steps as earlier to create the stop motion on the path animation. I refine the entire keyframe to make sure all the animations are very much in sync. And once it looks good, I go over and then added the 3D text. And now this is the part where I'm going to edit text and write down not video, and adjust the text size and position before adding the animation. And yep, once it all looks good, I go to the text effects and selected the text animation. Now I'm going to keep this really simple and create a basic animation. And to do this, I keyframe the evolution option. And yep, I think this works just fine, so I'm going to reverse the keyframe, and that's basically pulling down the values back to 0 to create the outro animation. So to make it easy and less stressful, I just duplicate the text, reposition the layer and adjust the text position, and then I edit the text to something 3D workflow. I'm also going to follow the same process to the next object by duplicating the text layer once more, and then repeat this process, adjusting position, timing, effects for the next object in the sequence. And without that done, here's our final playback review. So we're pretty close to perfection here, but I hope you found this helpful. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.